So let's begin with our great day. Today is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you live in the world. Okay. So today we are here for Certification Saturday. And today I'll be talking about my topic is how to prepare for the Microsoft Data Analyst exam. Or okay, I'm hearing the echo. Can somebody mute because
So
I can
today,
see. Okay, it's sorted. Okay, so today we'll be talking about how to prepare yourself for the Microsoft DA100 Microsoft Data Analyst exam. And this exam will earn you the certification called Microsoft Data Analyst Associate. Uh, a brief introduction about myself. My name is Hasham Niaz. I'm a consultant trainer. I have been working in the BI industry for past 15 years. I have been doing training, consultancies, and speaking at different events in Middle East. And I was part of the organizing committee for SQL Pass for last 2 years as well. And then I have won 2 community awards, Power BI community awards. Emerald and Ruby Award from Dynamic Communities. So this is a brief introduction, some useful resources which might help you. So these resources I have put down into the slides as well. So one is the desktop, Power BI desktop link, how you can download. The other one is the data sample data where you can find some sample data sources for your reports. Then the third one is the data analyst, Microsoft Learn, data analyst associate path. What you can do, you can go browse through this URL and you can find your Microsoft Learn path. You can go through all the contents, the Learn content. Yeah, they have different modules designed. So Microsoft Learn is one of the best resources. A bit outdated. This one, the Microsoft Cloud Challenge, which just expire on 30th of March. If somebody, a few of you guys have registered for the Microsoft Ignite Data Analyst channel, they will be challenged. They will be eligible to earn a free Microsoft exam. These 7 exams out of the 7 or 8 exams. Moving to the next slide. So session objective and agenda. So today we'll be preparing ourselves for Microsoft Certified Data Analyst Associate. So this is a certification title and the related exam is DA100. So let's go about exam content distribution and we will look and we'll see how different things we want Microsoft is assessing which different content areas. So the first thing you could see is like almost 75% of the exam is based on these first three parts. So you will be spending more time on preparing the data, modeling the data, and then doing the data visualization. And then the final last 25 to 30% exam content would be related on analyzing the data and then deploying and maintaining the deliverables. So these are 5 major, you could say, skills areas which Microsoft is going to check or assess when you are appearing for the exam. So I want to know in the poll if somebody can create a poll for me. We can do a poll like, are you guys already registered for the Microsoft DA100 exam? You have given the exam, already have experience, some of the experience using the Power BI or using you are already working in the data analyst role. So if you can give me some of these answers through the chat, it would be good. I'll be able to then paste this session based on that feedback. So the part is like some of you might be doing data analyst role or doing day-to-day Power BI work in your office role. Some might be new, a newcomer, and some of you might be seasoned who have been in the BI industry for past 4 or 5 years or maybe longer. So just start registered for exam, register for. So okay, so we have some of the few people here showing they have already registered for the exam. Wonderful. Okay, hopefully this session will help you prepare on the specific targeted areas where you need to focus more. Like I will want you to prepare most of your time doing this preparing and the modeling, because a lot of the questions in the exam will be covering those, assessing those areas. Okay, so moving to the next slides, let's deep dive like what could and you can find all those things like whatever in my slides. These are all available on the Microsoft official websites, where you can see what are the skills associated and what are the sub skills they are going to measure in then in that particular exam or in that particular certification. So going to the next slide, we have this one. So the prepare data, this section has 3 more sections, and then each subsection have different you could say skill levels or finalized skill objective which you can mention. So if you are seeing this one, so getting data, so there are different ways you can get data. You can prepare the data and the objective which are going to be assessed during this particular skill objective is like you can identify and connect to a data source. Like exam question can ask you to choose which of the data type or which of the data source connection or which of the data import or data live connection you want to use. I will be going into the power slide just in a moment, Power BI file just in a moment to show. So these are some of the topics here. This is like identify and connect to a data source, change data source settings, select a shared data source or create a local data source, select a storage mode, choose an appropriate data type, query type, identify the query performance issues, use parameters. So let's start with this one. Let's start with opening the blank file I have. So I have currently opened few of the files you might see. So these might be helpful to when we go along with the session. So I have different examples prepared. So we'll be going along those cycles. So currently I'm opening a new blank file. So if you see on the home screen, when you open the Power BI desktop application, this is the place where you design your Power BI reports. So where you model, prepare, do. So usually some of the default connections are there from Excel file, import from SQL Server, import from a blank table, or try some sample data set. If you click on the get data, you will have the list of different data sources which you can connect. And if you go to the more option, you will have a grouping available, and you have around more than 200 data sources which you can connect. So if you see, I have option to connect Google Analytics, GitHub, LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, Smartsheet. So the most commonly used scenarios where either you will be using a database, you will be using a Parquet file, PDF file, or a folder location where you have a folder where folder might have Excel files, CSV files, or it could be different set of files, or you will be using a relational database or enterprise data warehouse where you will be pulling your information. And you have Amazon Redshift availability as well. So let's try to connect with one of the basic data set which we have. So if I open this one, so I have created a SharePoint site. For this one, I will be using a SharePoint site. So you can connect to a SharePoint site. You can connect to any online resource, online directory. You can connect to OneDrive as well. So let's say I want to connect to this one. And there is a difference between connecting to the Excel directly. You can connect directly to the Excel, and then the other method is to connect to a folder, and then that folder can have multiple Excel files as well. So if I say I'm connecting to a folder location or a SharePoint folder, so I can connect using that as well. So let's say I'm connecting to a SharePoint folder here, and you can connect to a SharePoint list as well. So I say let's connect it to SharePoint folder. So this will going back, and this will providing me all the files which are available. So I say, okay, combine and transform, combine all these files and load these files. So this way Power BI will do all the stuff for me. This will load the files. So this is the basic step. If you are going to use other methods, like you are using any other SQL server, you'll be providing SQL server address, the instance name, and you'll be providing username or password to connect to the server, or the UPN or the handle shared access if you have. So those are some of the methods. So while this is loading, I have another file open with me. So we'll go to this file for now. So this is going providing me while this is loading. I will switch to a different file and we will see. Okay, we'll see how we can make these things like more, how we can cover those. So I will switch back to the slides. Okay, so the slides is here. So the slide says, okay, we identify and we connect to us. So how do you want to change the data source settings? So now I'm going to this part, like how I can go and change the data source setting or how I can change the storage mode. So if I go back here, so some of the storage modes are by default import mode. So there are two different storage modes, if I could say. One is import, the other one is live query or a direct query method. So if you are using SQL Server, it will ask you, or you are using any source which provides both of these two connections. So you will have the option to connect based on whatever data source storage mode you want to use. So while this is still loading, let's move to our file. I have a file here with me. So I have already pulled some of the data. So this file already has some of the tables. You could see this file has the sales table as well. And this has sales table from 2019 to 2021 or 2022. I have created some future sales data as well. And how about if I want to change the, because this file is currently using, if I go here and recent sources, uh, transform data source settings, I can see this file is using this particular path, which I have provided earlier. So if I want to change the path of this file, so let's say I want to change my tenant, or I want to deploy at a client location. This is my development environment and I want to deploy it on other side. So there are different methods. So what you can do, you can go to the change source settings and you can use the change, you can define the path. Currently I am using a variable. So how to define a variable? Let's first thing, before you go to allow Power BI to have the parameterized data source settings, so you go to the options and settings, you go to options and you go to the Power Query, you go Power Query editor, and then you allow, check this one, allow always allow parameterization in data source. So if you uncheck this one, you won't be able to use parameters in your data source. So since I have allowed this one, I can use the data source settings. I can use and I can change the source. I can go here, I can do the edit parameters, and you can see I have different parameters. I have the parameter one, and this was my parameter. So if I want to change, I can change the path. I can divert it to a different path as well, right? So these are some of the ways you can choose between the paths. You can divert the path. If you want to change the data source totally, you can do the add new data sources here. Like if I want to use a SQL Server data source, if I want to use a Power BI shared data set, so it will go in my tenant and it will search for what the data source. So I have this certified data source. If I want to use, I can use this data set as well, right? And I might have some. So we'll look into this, what is the difference between this certified, promoted, and endorsed. So we'll be looking into those as well. So this is how you can use different data set, different methods when you are connecting to your Power BI report. Okay, so this is our first part where we have seen like how do we connect to the data source, and then how to use the parameterization, identify, choose the select the storage mode. Now moving to the next part, the next part is profiling the data. So if I go back here in my data set, you can go to the transform data. So since I have already loaded all the data, so I have different options here. You might not be able to see these three things here, which I'm seeing. Like if I click this one, so there are some usually when you click on, when you open this transform query editor, if you guys have any question, you can type in between. I'll be reading those questions as well. So to check the data quality issues, now Microsoft Power Query Editor provides you some data quality filter options. So you can turn these on. So you can turn column distribution, column profiling, and column quality on. So we will talk those one by one. So what these are. So let's first talk about the column distribution. So this will show you the distinct values and the unique. So these are the distinct values. These are distinct values. All these are unique, 1,000 unique values. And this is based on your first 1,000 rows. So column profiling currently is basing on your first row. If you want to do it on entire data set, you can right click this one and you can do the profiling based on entire data set. So let's see when I change this one. So it will take few time because now this is actually providing me whole. So currently I have 4 different distinct values. I have 1,000 distinct invoice IDs. I have 3 distinct branch, 1 country, 3 distinct cities. So I can see how my data set is distributed. So most of the data set is repeated here because these are the dimensional values. So that's why these are repeating. Okay, so this is the column distribution I can provide. If I want to do the column profiling, so column profiling is also based on the entire data set. So it will show me the count of rows, the number of errors, number of empty rows, distinct rows, unique, empty strings, minimum and maximum value. Okay, and it will show me the value distribution. Like if I choose this one, city, you will see this city has the data 37,000 rows associated with this city. With this city, 34% of the rows are associated, and with this third city, 30% of the. So it will show me, like I can click on the branch and I will see the distribution. I will see the distribution across invoice IDs as well, and I will see the distribution against gender or against customer type. So this is helpful in identifying, like, okay, if I have any data enrolled. Now I have got the final column called column quality. So currently this is also against the entire data set. So valid rows, percentage of valid rows, percentage of empty rows, percentage of error rows. So this is how I can see if I have empty rows, what is the number of empty rows currently in my model. So currently I don't have because I already have this clean data set. So that's how you do the profiling. Any question till this point? If you have any question, you can ask right away into the chat. So these are different. So the question might be that, okay, you want to, some questions in the exam will assess that you will be asked task to do the column profiling based on the, like you have this much, how you identify percentage of empty rows, how you identify percentage of empty errors. So you need to do some kind of a logic there, like what steps you need to perform. So things like that. So the exam will assess those things. Okay, now going back to our step, going back to our slides. So I can close this one because I haven't changed anything. So I can close and then I can go back to the slide. So this was the slide profiling data anomalies. Okay, now moving to the last part of this one, preparing the data. So this is like preparing the data, clean, transform and load the data. So we have already seen how we can remove some of the anti rows, or how we can remove the error rows there. And now this is some more in-depth detail. This section will assess you having resolving inconsistencies, unexpected or null values, data quality issues, which we have discussed right now. Apply user-friendly values replacement, identify and create appropriate keys for joins, evaluate and transform column data types, apply data shape transformation, combine queries, apply user-friendly naming convention, configure data loading, and resolve data import error. So this section is mostly to deal with the same transform data thing. You go to the transform data, you can replace, like if you see this would be more better if I replace it with some value. So you can use the transform this column. You can do different kind of transformation. Like I have this one. I want to do it transform. I can do the transformation. I want to do every letter as capitalized. So capitalize each word. So this will now be changed to health and beauty. So this will all be capitalized. I can use different transformation as well. I can use this one as total uppercase, total lowercase. I can use the specific length if I want to pick up any uh, sentence out of this. If I want to replace these values, replace these numbers, I can do the change, transform this date to a date time field. I can use change the date time. If I don't require this one, I can use convert this to a date or maybe single time. So this will save space in my model. Okay, because I won't be using both date and time just to make this one. If you want to remove any transformation, you can just remove this transformation from here. It won't. So you can play around with this one. These are different transformations thing. What are, you can change the replace values if I want to change like these values. So I can say replace value A with Arabic, let's say something like this. You can replace this one as well. You can click OK. These values will be replaced. So these are some of the methods which you can do. You can extract, you can parse this one. You can split a column. Like if I want to split these into 3 different columns, so I can use the split column and I can provide a delimiter. I can provide a specific location as well here. Another thing is like there are statistical function as well. You can use count distinct values. If I want to have a age, you can do some transformation based on age as well. Like this is my date, and if I want to add a new column called how many number of days it has, or which day, name of day you can create, or age, you can calculate the age directly as well. So this says this is the number of age and this is in the number of months. So if I want to create total years, I can change this to a total years. And I have like this order is like almost 1.2 years old. So I can create all those transformation. Okay. So these are some of the transformations. I just, if I want, if I'm not satisfied with the transformation, I can remove those transformations. So these are some of the values here. So this is our first part. Now moving to the next section, which is the modeling. How you model data model. If you are familiar with the data engineering or database background or BI background, you know the key importance of designing a data model, defining the tables, picking the right columns, properties, like defining the right data type. Like I changed the date and time to the time because I only know that the time will be the key. Okay, flatten out the parent-child hierarchy. Like we don't want these hierarchies which are already built in, created by the Power BI. So you need to disable those one. Like if you see, if I have this one, let's say, let's expand this to a different view. I have another file. Okay, so you see all these dates columns might have this one is a time value. This is auto. So you need to remove, go back here, go to the options and settings, go to the options, and you want this time intelligence to don't do this, the time intelligence function. Okay, you can uncheck this one. So this will not pick up all the dates and time. So you need to then manually define. Now the other part to this is like, so we'll check these two things together, developing and designing. So you have a design and then you finally implement the data model. So currently with every data model you have, now I'm switching to the new data model view pane. So you might be familiar with some of the things here. So I just let me know if you guys can see it, or I will do some of the maximization here to make it more readable. So when you design and develop, so currently I have one fact table here, and the good thing about the new data view is like you can see this is the table name and this is the storage mode. So if I have different tables coming up and one is directory, it will show here as a directory and then it will highlight this as well. And all I can see all the tables, like this is also an import table and the last date and time when this is got refreshed. So I can see all those things here as well, identify those things. Okay, so let's see how we can create some relationship. So I have a date column here and I have created a relationship here. Let's say, so there are like three different kinds of relationship, like one-to-one, one-to-many. So let's say I have created a relationship between my date and my sales date or invoice date. So I have created this column one-to-many. There are like three different probabilities here, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many as well. We will discuss this. And then these are like cross-filter, direction, single, and both. Either you want the relationship to serve as a both direction, cross-filter both rows. Other thing is like apply the security filter. Currently this is not, so when you do this both, so then only then this checkbox will be available for you that, okay, do you want the security filter? Like if you have RLS, row level security implemented in your data model, then you can apply this one. So let's see one by one, and you might see that for some of the things like one-to-one, this both might not work. It will say that this cardinality is not valid. It will already highlight. So currently, because this is, I'm going from my dimension table to my fact table, I'm using one-to-many dimension. So if I choose it like this, sales table, and then, so I'm going from my fact table to my dimension table. So this time I can say I cannot choose one-to-many because it will say it's not valid, because now I have to choose one-to-one, many-to-one. And then I can choose between cross filter, direction, single, or both. So this will show me from, and one thing to remember is like either I create this many-to-one or I create calendar to sales one-to-many. If I set the cross filter direction to single, what will happen? The filter will always flow from your dimension table to the fact table. So I will just show it to you. So currently you see the filter direction is from dimension table to facts table. Now let's change this relationship again. Now I'm doing the inverse, right? This time here. And I change this to one-to-many, okay? You see the direction of the arrow remains same. What if I do the both? So if I do the both thing, so then I will have this one showing up as this is filtering the both direction. And we will see this, what is the difference between, just give me a second. I have this example prepared for you guys as well, specifically. So currently let's go back and now let's deep dive into this one-to-many, many-to-many, because this is one of the most complex difference, like people don't see. So all these subtopics are related each other, interrelated to each other, like relationship, cardinality, cross filter, direction, and the performance as well. Okay, now I have these two files here, if I remember right now. So this is my file. Let me know if you guys can see these files. Okay, so currently this is my table. Let's talk about the table. So this is ABC company table. Okay, company A, company B, company C, and this is a company name. This is a dimension table, a very simple dimension table. This is an employee dimension, employee ID, and it has which company the employee is associated, employee name, and then the salary. Salary is like for these employee, only this employee has two different salaries, right? This employee has two different salaries. One and the one 18,000 and the other entry is 22,000. Okay, so and how my model is created. So now let's go to the other file, because this is the other file, and this is very simple. Again, I have employee table. I can see the employee table here. Same employee table, company name, company information, and the salary information here, right? Okay, so I have these two things here, and if I and the model is, my model is I am creating a relationship based on employee ID, and my relationship direction is from employee to salary table. Okay, so let's say I have a single dimension created as a this relationship as cross filter direction as single, this one, right? This is going from employee to salary. Okay, one to many relationship is active. So what will happen is, like, I have these three visuals here: visual A, visual B, visual C. I have sales by company, and I want, these are my ranges. So currently I have this one as salary range between 15,000 to 23,000. So I can see all the employees there, and I can see the salary coming as 40,000, because this employee John Luke has two different salaries. One is 18,000, the other one is the one is 18,000, other one is 22,000. So this is coming as 40,000, which is correct. Okay, so this is when I do the single direction. And if I select company A, all the visual will filter out and only company A data will be shown. If I do company B, only company B data will shown, company C, company C. If I do company A, the salary is 40K. Now let's say if I do it like this, what happening now is, like, the salary which is coming up here 18,000, because now this salary filter is checking that salary should be in between 15,000 to 20,000. So that's why the other salary for this employee does not come. So what if I do it like I change the direction to both? Okay, so I have this one. If I want to say, like, okay, so these two employees will coming up, and I can filter out based on my employee thing as well. So if I want, and similar thing is, like, if I go here, this is my, sorry, the first one, and I have now moving to the more complex direction here. So I have these things here. So this is, like, I can see the difference between first and the second. Like, this filter currently is from the company dimension, and if I go here, my employee table can filter out the companies as well. So let's say this table is coming from the company. If I do the salary thing, you see these are shrinking up, right? Any question till this point? Okay, so I see I did not get any question. Okay, no problem. So hope you guys are clear about the single one-to-one and one-to-many and cross filter direction single and both. You guys have got the difference between these two things. Okay, let's go back here. Because if once I save these changes, these will apply. So this is now basically filtering it up, right? You see, if I do it all, the company filter is being shrinked as well. So if I do it a single direction, what will happen? Now I do the save and I go back. You see, this filter is always remaining the same. So this is the basic thing when you do. So currently this is not filtering, but if I change this to secure cross filter direction to both, so what will happen is now the country filter starts shrinking as well. So this is my all, but when I change the selection slicer, this company thing also got changed as well. So now this is shrinking. So this is the difference between going single and going both. So it depends on your requirement. Either you want your fact table to filter your dimension, or you want one dimension to filter another direction depending on your own scenario. So you can build different scenarios. I have shown you different 2 or 3 different scenarios here where you can use this one. So this is modeling data one thing. Now design and develop a data model. Now let's go. So create measures and how to build DAX, use different DAX functions, use semi-additive functions, and replace numerical values with measures. So I see a lot of the time people were doing things like they drag and drop, right click here, and they say, okay, sales data, I want to see sales. So I can just place like this is my chart, and I can place simply I created okay, I have created something like this. Let me remove this one for now. We'll talk about it later. So if I go back here and say, okay, somebody wants to see the sales, what they usually did, okay, doing they simply put this one measure here and say, okay, I am able to see the sales as well. Okay, so they can be able to see the sales, and let's do it like here. So I have the sales thing. So currently this is showing me if I change it to a card visual, it would show me whatever the filters I have selected. This is the sales, but this thing is not reusable. So this approach is not reusable. You have to do, if I want to build any custom logic there, I cannot build. So that's why you have to always organize your numerical values into a measure, so you can reuse them and you can refer them later on if you want. So what I did as a best practice, you create an enter data, you create a dummy table called measures, and I organize all my measures here inside this one. You can see you can organize these measures. How you can organize these ones? You go to the fields, you select this one, the measure name, whatever the measure name you have. So if you have created multiple measures, so you can identify the folder name as well. Okay, and if you want to hide any measure, a specific measure, so end user cannot use it, you can use those settings from here. So I have this sales measure here, and I'm going to use my sales measure here instead of the measure. So both are giving the same result, but this is reusable. And if you can see, all my other measures are using this sales measure inside, right? So I'm referring, but you cannot refer this direct numerical value inside. If you have any count or sum you are doing, you cannot use those ones. So that's why I always prefer to use measure. You can create quick measures. How you can create a quick measure? Like you can do simple things like that. Okay, I want the sales, I want this to be rolling average, something like this. I can create a date dimension here as well. Let's say year over year. If I can see this one, yes, year over year change. So I want to see my year over year change for the sales. So I have provided the base value as the sales here. You can provide the sales, sum of sales, or you can provide the measure as well. And then I'm providing my date key here. So this is my date key. If you want, you can provide, if you already have a measure, you can provide the measure as well. So once I did this, it will create a new measure for me. Like you see, it's created a new measure. And if I copy paste this one, so some of the question might involve you to ask you to create a quick measure. So this is the percentage increase, because if I can see my last year sales was this one 1.22 million, and now my sales dropped to 645. So this is the year over year increase measure. So some of the measures, like if I go back here, this is the measure statement, and some of the question might assess you to complete these statements or write this statement either through drag and drop option or like year over year. So you will have things like this. So you will need to choose from the calculation. So be prepared for those quick measures. Read out those quick measures. What are different quick measures examples available here? Why this one is not opening up? Are you guys still following, or you guys are lost? Please wave your hand into the chat so I can understand that you guys are following and I'm not going at a very rapid pace. Some of the examples, some of the questions like you need to consider is like row level security, which has always been there. So I have this very basic thing. I have a data model, user and sales. So this is sales data and this is user data. And I want to, if I can show you sales table, I have the user ID. So which user ID can see? This is called one-to-one mapping, which is very simple. I map my user dimension table to my sales table using the user ID column. And how the row level security things applies is I go here, I go to the model thing, and I go to the manage role. I have created one role, and now here in my username, I use the function called username. You can use the function username or user principal name. Both are alternative to each other. And you will learn the difference between, like you will be asked like which function if you want to validate. So I can validate it here, username. You can use the user principal name as well. If you are on a domain, you can use the user principal name function here as well. So I define this function like add a filter and add the filter based on username. So let's remove this for now. And how you can define this one, apply a filter. Let's say clear table filter. So I have now removed the table filter. I apply a filter based on this one, and then I say my value equals to it. So username is a Power BI DAX function, which gives you the login user value. So if I save this one and I want to view this as a role, so I want to view this as a user role, and my username could be, I need to copy this one because I don't remember what the user values was there. Okay, SQL Saturday dot. Okay, so this is my user value. Let's see if I can copy this one. Following. Okay, somebody actually is following the lectures. Thank you. Okay, I think we can do it. So if you want to verify the role, you can do click this one, US add Saturday SQL.on Microsoft, because I am using a free tenant, all the demo things. So now I can see only the US of this one. If I want to use any other user, I can use it like this. So I can see Canada sales, which is fine, which is perfectly fine. And you can see this is showing. So you can do the same thing, or if you click this one, like you will see the same, but this will actually pick up whatever the login user is. Okay. I am copying this one for now because I know I'll be requiring this email address later on. So now moving to the more complex, because this is one-to-one mapping. This is not simple sorry, this is not the scenario which you will be requiring in the production environment. So you will, in the production environment, you guys will be having more advanced level kind of problems. So this is like here you optimize the model. I think there was a point. Yes, this is the point called row level security. So we are discussing this one for now. I have these other files as well. So this is my model, which is more complex kind of thing. What it is doing is, you see it has two tables called user. Here, let's see how the user table look like. So it has a user table, it has the owner ID, and it has a user path. So what it does, it is a parent-child hierarchy, or you could say end-to-end level hierarchy, like manager or user level hierarchy. And then in the user table, I have the access and access of the user. So this user, these countries or these rows can be accessed by user 2. But if I go to user 2 has a parent, owner ID user 1. So user 1 can also see those one. So how we build those things, like I have created a user path column here where I describe these values as pipe delimited values, the whole path. So this 5, this user ID 5, this whatever the rows which are being parented by 5 or have access to 5, those can be accessed by 5, 2 or 1, because 5 has a parent of 2, manager as 2, and 2 has a manager ID as 1. So this is a manager level hierarchy. You can do it. What we did in the manage relationship, we only map user ID with the user ID the same, and the cross filter direction is single. What is different here is, like, you go to the modeling tab, and into the manage role thing, you have into the users thing, rather than having the username function, what you are doing, you use this statement: path contains, I'm checking the user path because my user table has this user path thing, and I'm catching the maximum and filtering the user. If my username is available, whatever the ID, I got the ID and I got the total path, and I can see if my user, whatever the username I log in, has the user ID. So I got the user ID from this one. Like, this is my username. My username is, let's suppose, US. So I will get the user ID of the US. It's 1. And I'm checking that, okay, this user path fields contains 1 or not. If it contains 1, then true. And where my fields applied, like I have this apply filter, and my filters is, I have this custom statement written here. Okay. So this is a bit complex thing. And now let's see how this works. Like, so if I want to see Mexico, I can see Mexico. If I click US, I can see US, right? But when I go to the view roles and I say, okay, now I want to see it with this one. So I have this one as US. So I'll be able to see, let's first do the Canada, because Canada is parent of Mexico as well. So I can see both Canada and Mexico. Okay. And I'm not sure if I can show you guys this one. So my login user is CA. I'm not sure if I can hide this one now, because if you can see, let me drag it down a bit, these two things. So you can see my login user is Canada, right? And these are the accounts I have access to. Let's do one more thing here, which is called view. And this time do it as a US thing. So so my login user is US, and I have access to these 3, and you can see I have this one. Let's do for other thing as well. Like I have something called France FR, if I remember correctly, FR. So my login user is FR. FR only has access to FR. I think there was Germany as well. So Germany has access to both Germany and France. So I can see those. Okay. So this is like, you need to go and learn these things, like doing a deep dive hands-on on row level security. I have one more example of the row level security as well. Let's see if we can quickly implement this one as well. So this is second kind of implementation. Then we have a many-to-many implementation, where multiple users can have multiple IDs. So this is very simple manager level hierarchy, like only one is the user. So what if my data sets contain something like this one? This is my sales table, and these either have a role ID. So how you can do it, like I have created a bridging table. So if you can see the model here, how it works, I have a user ID. Every user is, how can we get? Yes, there will be a shared link. Uh, so how do you go about this one? So I have this model called user ID. So I will pick the user ID, and then every user ID is assigned to a role. I go to the bridging table. So this is my user to role mapping. And then this is actually going to the role thing. And my role is mapped with the fact table. So if you see the data here, every fact row is assigned to a role, and the user can be grouped into multiple roles or different roles as well. And different roles have different user as well. So if I go to the roles table, I have these 3 roles. And if I go to users table, I have only these 2. So these are single dimensions. But this is the bridging tables, user roles, where I have mapped user to role mapping. So if you can see, user 1 has this role, user 2 has this role, user 3 has this role, user 1 has this role as well, and user 2 has this role as well. So this is called many to many mapping. If you see this one, nothing is going into bidirectional, everything is single. How my flow works is I am picking up from the user table. Now let's go. I'm filtering it up, and if I do the manage role thing here, it would be easier. So I'm filtering my role table here. So I have created a users, and I'm filtering the role, and I'm seeing if my role ID in, and what I'm doing is like related table. So it is inactive relationship called kind of thing, because I'm using trying to create getting the role ID for this username. So this is the username, and I am trying to find the role ID from the user roles table, because in the username user table I don't have a role ID for that user. So I got the username. I go to the this relationship. I utilize this relationship to get the role ID assigns or whatever the roles ID. So it has multiple roles ID, it will filter those multiple. So it will return those table, and then I will try to find if this role ID, which I'm seeing trying to see, is available in the user role mapping table. So that's how this works. And if you want to see this one, so if these are my roles, so I can see US is assigned with these 3 roles, or this role, North America and US role. So US is assigned these 2 roles, and Germany is assigned these only 1 role, Mexico is assigned only 1 role, and France is assigned only 1 role. Let's try to with this with the US. And how we can do it, like go to the modeling and view as role. If I want to do any role, so I want to say so my role name is USA. So if I log in with this role, sorry, still I need to get the username. Because this one, and then because only US has multiple roles, or Canada has 12 roles as well. So I can see, okay, why I'm not seeing, because I have converted this one. Stop viewing, give me a second. So you need to be hands-on on these things. Not sure if I click this one as well. Save. Okay. So this is assigned to these two particular roles. So if I log in now, this time, hopefully this will work. I got this one. We are almost running out of the time. I think wrong username.
Well
Okay,
spotted.
yes. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. We are running out. So we have covered up two parts of this one. Almost two parts. We did not get the chance to go to the visualization data sets and things like that. But if you want to continue this session, we will do episode 2, and where we will run to other different set kind of data set. So if you see, I have developed some other cool examples as well, which I would share with you guys. uh, Feedback, you can provide the feedback, and I guess that's it. If you have any question, feel free to ask. And I'm going back to the slides. That's it. And if anyone of you want to contact, you can contact, reach out to me on these addresses.